guess out of a few, one of the scriptures that kind of caught my attention was 1 Peter 2:18. And it's basically talking about slavery. And my question to you was, how do you interpret these scriptures that seem to be promoting slavery, about how masters, servants should obey their masters, how harsh they would be? And does God want slaves to be submissive to their masters?
So the verse is, servants, be subject to your masters with all respect, not only to the good and gentle, but also to the unjust. I mean, not even just the good masters, but the bad ones, right? That's a verse, and there are other verses that say similar things, right? I mean, that's a good verse. The question you're asking is a big one. I actually chewed on. I looked at these questions before, and so it was nice to actually have some of it. And it's not an uncommon question. The slavery question. Let me just back up for a second here. I think in our modern day perception, where everybody, at least in the West anyway, we think that slavery is just an evil and bad institution, and we got rid of it. Most of the world, even now, may not agree with that. Even now, may not agree with that. And even throughout history, certainly nobody agreed with that. Most people, from what I can tell, did not consider slavery a moral question. Most people consider slavery an economic question. And a couple other things. When we think about slavery in America, we tend to think about kind of like chattel slavery as it was practiced, where African folks were literally kidnapped and then brought here against their will, and then they were, they're beaten, and they're treated like practically nothing. Okay, and most of the time in the Bible, when it talks about slavery, that is not the system or thinking of slavery that is common to the ancient world. Slavery is a very common thing in the ancient world, and there's all kinds of gradations of it. But particularly in the Roman Empire, it would be like, there's like versions of slavery where somebody's treated like chattel and like nothing. But there's also the much more common version of slavery would be like you have a debt and then you have to go work that off. And then you could be a slave to somebody for a certain number of years, and then you're released when the debt is worked off. Or in the Old Testament, that would be a common way. You go into debt, and then you could go into slavery, or you can, I know this sounds really bad, but you can actually have your sons or daughters go into slavery, to sell them into slavery, but it's not a permanent thing. And there are laws, the Bible has laws, like how you're supposed to treat your slave and so forth, and you can't just treat them like nothing. So our understanding of slavery and the kind of like American, that's like a especially egregiously evil version of slavery. So that's the first thing I just want to say. In the Old Testament, you could be under slavery for debt, but after a certain portion of time, there's actually a thing called the year of Jubilee, which you're released. Your debt is actually just forgiven by God according to the God's laws, and then you're released, and then you go back to your family. And so the way the Bible looks at slavery is quite a bit different than what our kind of modern day perception of it is. And I'm not saying all other cultures have this quote-unquote more enlightened version of it. Now, my very honest question, I'll just make two other points about that. Number one is, we live in a time when the West got rid of slavery. And I would say it's very strange that some people dislike Christianity over the slavery issue, because the Western vision of freedom really came from the Bible. The Bible has this idea that every person is made in the image of God and has this inherent dignity and worth. That's why they can't be treated in this chattel slavery kind of fashion, like as if they're mere property. But the idea that the Bible does accept is that there can be disparities of power. Somebody can have power, and you have to really be under that person to be called a slave. I don't think that thing is gone. That's completely normal. I mean, you can work for Apple, and you can be called an employee, but the person has incredible power over you, and the Bible would just say, yeah, like that's the way slavery was in the 21st century. There's actually even like rights and contracts and so forth. So that's one thing I would say about that. I think when the Bible accepts a certain institution of slavery. It's a certain understanding of disparity of power within the law that's economic. Probably not like the way we would think about it, but we just don't like that word slave and you get to own somebody. But I think when I read the Bible, it's much more about that kind of economic. That's one point I like to make. But the second point I like to make, and nobody knows why God didn't just no slavery. I mean, he could, he's God, right? Slavery, gone, no, it's bad, right? And they forced all of Israel to not use that institution. That isn't, he didn't do that. But what's odd is the Bible instead undermines the whole institution, right? There's a kind of interesting tension in the Bible that seems to accept the economic institution of slavery, but then puts principles, especially in the gospel, of the worth of human beings, which very much undermines slavery. And by the way, if you think that it took modern people a long time to figure out that the Bible undermines, that's not true at all. There's actually a book in the Bible called Philemon, which is about a runaway slave. And it's a short book, but it's a very profound book about treating your slave as your brother. I mean, if your slave is your Christian brother, and he's like your family for eternity. Talk about a way that undermines slavery, and that was going on even right after the early, they're in the early church period. So, I hope this is a helpful answer. I guess in one sense, I'm telling you, I don't know why God didn't just abolish it. But God did, and He said, put forth the motion so that the West could at least figure out to get rid of it. At least the West did. And we got Christianized enough, right? Is that helpful?